Welcome to CBSEasy.
All right, let's talk about fear. That feeling that just paralyzes you, right? Well, today we're tackling exactly that with 2 stories about flying and a couple of really important poems from your syllabus. We're going to break down everything you need to know about courage, mystery, and growth. All the good stuff for your board exams. So you ready? Let's jump in. Okay, here's our game plan. We'll start with his first flight, all about a seagull and his big fear. Then we're off on a spooky ride with the black aeroplane. After that, we'll switch gears to some poetry, looking at humor and loss. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with the key themes you absolutely need to know for your exam. Simple as that. So let's get into our first story, his first flight. This one really gets to the heart of something we all deal with, facing our fears. So, picture this. The story kicks off with this incredibly lonely scene. You've got this little seagull all by himself on a rocky ledge. His whole family, they've already taken off, flying free. And he's just stuck, completely frozen by fear just watching them go. It's a powerful start, right? And here's the thing. His problem isn't that his wings are weak. Nope. It's all in his head. The story literally tells us he felt certain that his wings would never support him. That's pure self-doubt talking. He's already decided he's going to fail. Now, for your exams, this is huge. If you get a character analysis question, you have to talk about this internal conflict. It's the whole point. So you're probably wondering, how does he snap out of it? Well, his family's approach is, let's just say it's intense. We're talking some serious tough love here. They're not just cheering him on from the sidelines. They're taunting him, they're scolding him, they even threaten to let him starve. Ouch. But it's this pressure from the outside that finally forces him to a breaking point. And this is the turning point. It all boils down to a basic, primal need: hunger. I mean, the poor guy hasn't eaten for a whole day. Then his mom shows up, dangling a piece of fish just out of reach. The text says, the sight of the food maddened him. Suddenly, that gnawing hunger is way, way stronger than his fear. That's what finally pushes him over the edge, literally. And that one move sets off this incredible chain of events. He dives for the fish, and get this, he's not trying to fly, he's just trying to eat, which of course leads to him just falling, plummeting into open space. The book calls it a monstrous terror. I can't even imagine. But then something amazing happens. Instinct kicks in. He's not even thinking about it. His wings just spread out and bam, he's not falling anymore. He's soaring. It wasn't a choice, it was pure survival. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that conquering a huge fear isn't always about a grand, heroic decision. Sometimes you need a serious push from the outside, like your family or just plain desperation. And then you have to trust your instincts to take over. It's about that leap of faith, even if you stumble into it by accident. Okay, so we've just seen a story about facing a fear you can see. Now let's switch gears completely and jump into a story about facing something you can't explain. Let's talk about the black aeroplane. This one starts out so peaceful you'd never guess what's coming. Imagine it, a pilot flying his old Dakota plane on a beautiful, clear night. He's on his way home to England from Paris, just dreaming about that big holiday breakfast with his family. Everything is going perfectly. And that perfect calm, that's super important, because it makes the storm that's about to hit feel 1,000 times worse. And then, bam, the storm clouds roll in. And he doesn't just describe them as clouds. He says they look like black mountains standing right in his path. It's this massive, terrifying wall. He knows he can't fly over them, and he's low on fuel, so flying around them is out. So he's got this critical decision to make. Play it safe and turn back, or risk it all and fly straight through. He decides to take the risk, and instantly, it's a disaster. I mean, a total nightmare. Everything that could go wrong does. The radio goes dead, the compass just spins uselessly, all his instruments are shot, so now he's completely lost, flying blind, inside a massive storm, and oh yeah, his fuel is about to run out. Talk about a bad situation. Right when you think it's all over for him, something appears. Out of the darkness, another plane. A really strange one. It's all black, and it has no lights on its wings, which is just weird, but the pilot inside waves at him, gesturing for him to follow. Just when all his technology failed him, another person, or what looks like a person, shows up to guide him. It's his only hope. So he follows this mysterious plane and, against all odds, he lands safely. He's obviously super relieved and wants to thank the guy who saved his life. But when he asks the woman in the air traffic control tower about the other plane, she has no idea what he's talking about. She looks at her radar and says, "Yours was the only one I could see." And that's the big twist, right? There was no other plane. So the story just leaves you hanging with this massive question. Who was in that black airplane? Was it a ghost, a guardian angel? Was it all in the pilot's head? Maybe a hallucination brought on by stress? The story never tells us. And that's the point. It's an open-ended story meant for you to think about and interpret for yourself. Okay, let's park the prose for a minute and switch over to poetry. We're going to look at two poems that couldn't be more different. One is all about humor, and the other gets really deep and serious. So on one hand, we have How to Tell Wild Animals, which is super witty and funny, even though it's talking about, being eaten by wild animals. And on the other hand, we have the Ball poem, which is much more serious and philosophical. It's all about what it feels like to lose something important for the very first time. The humor in How to Tell Wild Animals is just fantastic, right? It's so dark. The whole joke is that you can identify these animals right at the moment they're about to kill you. The poet has a lot of fun with the language, too, like rhyming lion with dyin', or saying a leopard will lep and lep again. That's a classic example of poetic license, by the way, a key term for your exams. It's when a writer breaks the rules of language on purpose to create an effect. All right, now for the Ball poem. And there's a big fancy term here you need to know, the epistemology of loss. Sounds complicated, but it's actually a pretty simple, powerful idea. It just means how we come to understand loss. See, the boy in the poem isn't just upset that he lost his ball. He's having his very first lesson in what it feels like to lose something permanently. And the heart of the poem really comes down to this one line: money is external. The narrator sees the boy is upset, and he could easily just give him some coins to buy a new ball. But he doesn't. And why not? Because it's not about the ball. It's about the lesson. The lesson is that you can't buy back feelings or memories. You can replace the object, sure, but you can't replace the experience of loss. That's something you have to learn to live with. Okay, let's pull all these threads together. This is the big summary, the stuff you really want to have clear in your head for your final revision. So let's do a quick rundown. In his first flight, the big fight is between the seagull's fear and his basic instinct to survive. In Black Airplane, it's the pilot's logic trying to make sense of a totally unexplainable mystery. Then for the poems, How to Tell Wild Animals plays with humor versus real danger, and the Ball poem is all about innocence clashing with the tough reality of loss. Make sure you remember those keywords: courage, mystery, poetic license, and that big one, epistemology of loss. They are going to be your best friends when you're writing your answers. And I want to leave you with one final thought that ties our two big stories together. Think about it. The seagull had to conquer a fear he could see, the big, scary drop below him. The pilot, on the other hand, had to face an unknown force in the dark that ended up saving him. So what do you think is the bigger challenge? Conquering a fear you can see and understand, or dealing with a mystery you can't explain? It's a tough one. Definitely something to chew on. All right, that's all for now. Best of luck with your exams.
Thank you for watching with us. See you next time.